Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Laura Levine. I am with the ARC of Fort Bend. I'm the CEO, which pretty much means I do what my program directors and my wonderful admin assistant ask me to do. And I try to take care of that so that they can work and carry out all of their programs around the county that they are in charge of. Um, I've been asked to introduce Michael Kallenberg to you all, and he wrote me a really nice vita, so I'm going to read it to you. It says that he grew up in California and that's prepared him to serve his communities when things get bad. Probably California is the only place that's as bad as Texas, mudslides and fires and earthquakes. But that led him to a career in disaster preparedness and emergency management. He has responded to disasters nationally and internationally. He has assisted in setting up camps for the United Nations to protect women and children from human trafficking and natural disasters. Michael is the coordinator of senior services for the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office. Studying gerontology with a background in emergency management gave him the ability to assist seniors and people with disabilities to navigate aging in place in the Fort Bend region. Having created several virtual village programs for seniors, he started the You Are Not Alone program. It's known as YANA, Y-A-N-A, to serve the aging population in Fort Bend County. As the director of YANA, Michael is on a mission to help our aging population stay in their own homes as long as possible. He works with his group of volunteers to respond to the needs of first responder referrals and other community partners to serve our seniors and people with disabilities throughout the county to help improve their lives. So he and his wife, Vivian, have chosen Fort Bend County as their home. They have been married for 28 years and have 5 children. So welcome, Michael, and we look forward to hearing your presentation. I'll turn it over to you. Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I know we were supposed to do this last year, and then I got COVID, and that kind of put a whole damper in the whole thing. And then with the holidays, and I'm just glad that we're able to come together and be able to present this. I'm excited about it. You know, we're seeing some great things happening. But first off, I want to thank Carrie for connection and connecting and being able to revisit this so we can present it. I want to thank the ARC, and you guys have been here a long time and very in serving the community, and we're growing. And I always say, if we don't address these things now, it's only going to get bigger, and we need to work on it now. So I'm going to get right into it. I want to and with technology, as Tara might know, that I'm hoping it all works. The audio in our video is a little low, so if you have to, turn up your volume during that period. And that'll be the 3rd slide. So here we go. So the new administration is very much involved in wanting us to reach out to our older population and those with disabilities in the county, and being able to come up with solutions to everyone's problems. I always tell, I can't fix everything, but we can be a part of your team. And so we've got great resources through the county, with other agencies within the county and around the country, and we can help facilitate and bring those ideas or thoughts or processes, to you. I've worked with the Easter Seals when I was in Houston, Bridging Apps was a phenomenal program, and still is, where we were able to come up with solutions to things. But as Sheriff Fagan has said, our volunteers are out there serving our community, and that's what makes Fort Bend County great. And I'd extend it to that our citizens are out there serving as well. So, it's folks that are living here, and we're able to come together and come up with solutions to things. So about 4 years ago, I was working in the Houston area, and I was at a grant-funded position with Jewish Family Service, and I was dealing with senior population and those with disabilities. And after Harvey hit, that area that we focused on got flooded out, and our volunteers that were in the surrounding counties were affected as well. So we had to shut that program down and ramp it up as into dealing with seniors in case management for disasters. And at that time I said, you know, here we are in Fort Bend, we don't have anything like this. We want to kind of jumpstart this so that when things get better, we're already active. And I went to the administration at that time and told them what I wanted to do, showed them a few pictures of uniforms, and everybody likes a person in uniform. And in 5 minutes, bam, you know, they said, let's do this. What do you need? And I said, 2 vehicles and office space. And they have, we've now gone through, we have 3 vehicles, actually 1 we just turned in. So we have 2 vehicles again, but we're looking at getting 2 more. And we went from 2 offices to 3. Now I've got a storage area that folks have donated stuff. And so we go out and deliver stuff. So our goal is, you know, that we're out there and our volunteers are committed to, you know, calling folks, you know, folks that might not ever get a phone call. But and then we'll go into the second part of my presentation into the Project Lifesaver. So out of this, You Are Not Alone, we started finding out that some of our seniors were wandering. And that was due to the stress out of COVID or decline in health. And we wanted to address that, but then we started seeing where there was more to, you know, traumatic brain injuries and, you know, other cognitive and special needs situations. And we wanted to address all that. And we'll get into that. So let me go in. There is a video that's going to be playing. Again, tune up your audio if it's low, and then go back down. Hopefully it's not that bad. Here we go.
The Fort Bend County Sheriff's You Are Not Alone, or YANA program, is a telephone reassurance program for senior citizens and people with disability in Fort Bend County. The YANA program is part of the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office of Senior Volunteer Patrol. Our SVP volunteers make calls and visits to our YANA members that either cannot get out much, or who cannot get out of their homes at all, or who are just plain lonely. A family member or the person themselves will contact the Sheriff's YANA office to request a visit from our volunteers to fill out an application. Once completed, we will start calling the YANA member on a daily basis and visit them once a week. Hi, how are you? Come in, please. The main idea behind it is to make sure they are okay and not being taken advantage of. We call on them daily and come by to visit them as often as necessary. We will help make referrals, and we'll help with changing light bulbs and batteries and smoke alarms and other materials that they need. They love that we call and visit on them. We don't do much, but we're here for them. They just know that we're here for them. I am so glad that you're taking them off. I'm very, very happy with the support that you are providing to seniors in our community. You are doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for that.
This program gives my children peace of mind. It's having someone wake me up in the morning and I hear a voice. You know, I have someone to talk to. Even if it's just one word, it's a person. And that makes such a big difference to you during your day. I have that to look forward to. I want to thank the Fort Bend Sheriff's Office for coming up with this It's a wonderful plan and program. In fact, if I can help in any way, I would be willing to do so.
Our senior volunteers are giving up their time, and there is no cost at all involved having us come out and check. If you would like to volunteer or become a member of our YANA program, please call our Senior Volunteer Patrol office at 281-341-9262. We are looking for people who are willing to serve our community, and we would be honored to have you on our team.
So, you know, Shirley in there, we were giving away gift bags last year for the holidays, and she's a quilter, and she made 80 of these. I wish I had one here. Amazing little miniature quilts that you could put down on the table to protect, you know, for a hot pot or, you know, as a decoration. Some folks have put magnets on the back and put them on the refrigerators, you know, so it's folks that are sitting at home with nothing or no communication, and we're being able to get them to involved back into feeling worth. And Juan, he and his wife were members, and his wife was in the final stages of Alzheimer's. She did pass away. And after a few months of going through a little bit of depression, and he finally came out and I felt a lot better. Well, he said, "You were there for us. I want to give back to the community." So now he's volunteering. So it's a way that we want folks to be able to, you know, get connected and be able to reach out to the community. So again, our program was a telephone reassurance program. We have our volunteers that are background checked. We call 3 times. Let's say at 6 o'clock, no answer, call at 6:15. No answer, we call at 6:30. At that point, we go through an emergency call out to their loved one, neighbor. If there's no answer, or if they don't know where they're at, we will send a deputy or law enforcement agency member to their home to do a welfare check. And so we have our volunteers have found folks that have fallen. They've been on the ground for multiple hours, 6, 7 hours. And, you know, if no one called, they could have been there for days. So we were able to, as their kids have said, we saved their lives. And so it just having, you know, we had a program like this for many, many years. It was a computer. So the computer made the call, and we figured, well, why not have individuals that are retired make the calls and be able to interact with folks. You know, we'll go out, we'll do some light repairs like light bulbs because it becomes a safety or security issue, air filters, small chores. We've, you know, moved trash cans in, or the newspaper, or, you know, just depends on what the need is. And if we can't do it, we have resources of organizations and folks that can. You know, we make a lot of referrals to other agencies. You know we can't do it all. And as a community-wide organization, you know, we know Meals on Wheels or other transportation services or referrals or doctors, we can refer out to folks within the county. Last year, we delivered cooked turkey meals, and we had a restaurant said, you know, we've got all these turkeys. And I said, well, look, I want you to cut them in half, because if you go in and give us an individual, a whole turkey, it can last, you know, 6 months. So we were able to spread the wealth and be able to, the only complaint we had, there wasn't enough stuffing, or, you know, people wanted more stuffing, but, you know, it was a nice thing, connected, remembering them during a time period. We've planned funerals for folks. We've gone out and get referrals. I get calls in the middle of the night. Deputies at the hospital, somebody has passed, we'll interact with the loved ones, and it extends to the family as well. So if one of our members, it also goes to their kids, because we want them to know that we're here for everybody. On average, we make about 600 calls a month. We make about 100 visits a month. It just depends. And since COVID, I've been really the one that's actually been going out and visiting with folks. So if you have a light bulb needing change, you're going to see me. So we've been kind of limiting it because of how many folks can go into a house. But we're hoping this year we would be able to do a lot more, but we're working on that. So is there any questions regarding the You Are Not Alone? We could wait till the end, but if there's any specific ones, I can answer right now while you're thinking of it. Anybody? All right, I'm going to go into Project Lifesaver. We've been a member of Project Lifesaver International, which is a Virginia-based nonprofit organization since 2011. And about 5 years into it, the sergeant retired and the program kind of just stagnated. And so I looked at, I'm a person to try to come up with solutions for problems. And so we had folks wandering and everyone had solutions of what to do. And we wanted to be proactive on being able to find them. And, so we revisited this and signed up and went through some training, and I'll get into that. So the whole program was to deal with in essence, a search and rescue type system to help support caregivers and their families if an adult or child wanders. And we understand that, the numbers are showing that we're getting more kids are coming out, being part of the autism spectrum, and that they, a great percentage of them are going to wander or bolt. It just depends, through outside stimulation or omission, and we wanted to address that. So how do we find them faster? So we've all seen it where, it's been days. I know a lady over in Katy, she left the house and was gone 11 hours, and what could happen in those hours. And I'll talk about a story of a young man who's 11 years old who was gone 2 hours in a little bit. But it's a common behavior. It just depends. Some will grow out of it, but we want to be able to address this. So we've all seen these, Texas silver alerts, blue alerts, endangered missing person alert. That's if a child was either taken in a vehicle or, have gone missing. So we want to be able to look at these. These are put out by the state of Texas. Used to be DPS, and it's now under the Fusion Center, which is a part of DPS, but they're the ones that will put out all the alerts. And so you've got amber and silver and blue, which is a law enforcement. So if there was an incident against a law enforcement an official, they're trying to look for the suspect and they're giving that information. Camo alert is dealing with those that might have PTSD or part of the military. And then the clear alert is something that falls between the cracks of all these other ones. So either being that they're not a senior, but there's some other crisis. that had occurred. So we've seen these, we get texts, you can sign up for them. And the whole aspect is a lot of them have to deal with people driving off. But what about wandering? We really don't have that until there's that missing. And so it falls under one of those other categories. So in seniors and in wandering in general, 50% of seniors who wander will keep going until they either fall, fracture something, injure themselves, or succumb to the elements. And so my wife's great uncle, 85 years old, driving to DMV, he is 5 miles away, never showed up, never made it home. His vehicle was found 4.5 months later, 170 miles from the location, and he was found less than 100 yards from the vehicle. And it was during the summer, and he succumbed from so I do have a connection to it. I feel, that I want to be able to come up with a solution to this, and that's why we're really wanting to push this to out there into the community. Early stages in the autism arena, they'll still again wander or bolt. There was I think in November, I think it was November, it could have been October, I think it was November. There was a 11-year-old over in Katy. He was at his elementary or middle school, I think, maybe the junior high. Anyway, he bolted from the school, and so no one knew exactly what to do. All they got was that it was a runaway, but he had a Project Lifesaver wristband on from Harris County. So he lives in Harris County, but goes to school in Fort Bend County. And so he had one of those on, and there was no communication. Nobody knew exactly. I mean, I think the parents told the school, but no one knew what to do. All it was a runaway. And 2 hours later, the mom gets a knock on the door, and it's a Katy ISD police officer saying your child went missing 2 hours ago. And they said, well, he has the Lifesaver pendant. Why did you call? So she called Harris County. Harris County said, well, he's in Fort Bend. So they're calling Fort Bend. And at that same time, the young man was seen trying to cross on Fry Road over the Grand Parkway. So a car was driving, stopped, picked him up, and sat there, called 911, and that's how they were able to return him back to the school. And so it was really a eye-opening experience, I think, for the Katy ISD police, both what we need to do better in Fort Bend as well in Harris County. And it's become a stronger partnership where now Katy ISD is in the process of purchasing the receiver units, and we're going to train them so that they can respond much quicker and have a policy. So out of this, and I'm glad it wasn't a really bad tragedy, but out of this, there's some great good that's going to last for a long time and generations. Nearly half of the children with autism will engage in the wandering behavior. There's going to bolt. It just depends on the individual. They'll go towards water or other dangerous locations because they have no, the compass is, they have no fear. Cost breakdown on this. So if you think about it, we're going to do whatever what we need to do to be able to get the greatest amount of deputies out there to respond to the situation. But here's in essence, the number, you're $25 an hour per deputy. Is it, we have to put resources from other incidents to this, internal, external resources from getting equipment, air support, off-road vehicles, not knowing where they're at. So you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. But if they've got this, the key aspect to this is, I can't tell you exactly where he's at, but I can tell you the direction. But I can also tell that we're in the right area. And so we're going to do a demo in a little bit, but the whole concept is GPS is a different system. It tells you where they were, and then it takes time for that information to reach the satellite, go back down, and go to your display, either your cell phone, computer, other devices, but there could be a delay up to 16 minutes. So radio frequency, as you drive around, you can, AM and FM, it depends on the type of trees or bridges. You go into a bridge, you're going to lose the AM, but the FM will work. Same concept with the radio frequency device that we use. It's specific, but there's limitations on everything. So timing is always of the essence. The mission of it is to bring your loved ones home. The frequency trackers are sending out a signal every second for up to 60 days. Then we have to come back out, we cut it off, we change the battery, and it goes for another 60 days. If the client wanders and is missing, the Fort Bend sheriffs will deploy our trained deputies with the units, and this is one of them, and they will go out and we can actually ping and hear the chirp up to 1 mile to 2 miles on the ground level and up to 5 miles in our helicopter. So we're able to find them on average less than 30 minutes. So it's really critical and important to be able to get these out there, get it onto folks that might go, missing, because it just takes one incident, and it's a great tool. So let's do a demo, and it's kind of difficult. It's so great if you guys were here with me, because there's, but we're going to try this and see how it goes. So here we go. We've got, little Jimmy went missing, and I'm trying to find if I'm in the right location. So there's 2 questions we'll ask: last known location, and when was the last time you saw that person? Because every 15 minutes, that person could, depending on, if they're shuffling or looking at things or whatnot, go about a 1/4 mile. So we want to know if we're in the right area. So when we start this thing, little Jimmy's got his frequency device, and I can tune this to his specific frequency. So if you call 911, you'll say my child, and actually you won't have to say a whole lot, because we'll have your information tagged so that when you call, some of this information will already be pulled up by the call takers. But you'll tell them again, and they might just want to double check, what is his frequency? You'll tell them, we can at that point tell our deputies that we have a Project Lifesaver client missing, frequency, and we give that information, and we're able to put it into the device. Now, again, what I'm going to try to do is, are we in the right area? So we're going to do a 360, and we're going to see if we hear a chirp. So It's going to be kind of loud. Let's see. I'm going to do it. So in there, you're hearing a chirp. There's a lot of static, but then there's a chirp. And so that chirp is what we're looking for. So as we're moving, so that chirp in the long range distance is telling me I'm within that 1 mile, 1.5 mile range. There might be another deputy somewhere else that they're not hearing it or it's low. And if I know that mine's a little higher, then they're going to move towards that area. And so in that process, we might get more chirps, louder chirps, and we're trying to triangulate that element to be able to find that person much faster. So as we do that, we're doing this wide search. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start honing it down. So as things go, we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to make it where it's really thin. I'm pinpointing on that direction. And the key element to that is, why send, if the person's this direction, why send them back that direction? So our resources are being used in a much, much better way and much faster. So we're going to tune this down, and I'm going to tune this up. And I don't know if you can hear that. There's a little chirp, and I have it this direction, and I'm not hearing anything. So I'm going to come around, do my 360. And it's a little louder. So that tells me that the person's this direction. Now, again, being that it's a needle in a haystack, if it was a real person, I would be able to see that individual. And with our helicopters and night vision stuff and all sorts of technology, we're able to pinpoint it. So the key element of this is that we're pushing the resources in the right direction. And that's why we're able to find them much faster.
Hey, Michael, we had a
Yes.
question from Jerry. She was asking, is the device or the bracelet, is it waterproof?
Yes. So when it's put on correctly, it is, there's a back that screws off, and there's a gasket, a seal in there, and there's this gel, and it is waterproof. You can go swimming, out in the rain, take a bath, the whole bit, for up to 60 days. So sometimes, and I have a 5-year-old not far from here who is wearing one of these, and we put it on his wrist, and kids are mischievous, and they don't like it. It's too itchy, too scratchy. He, the amazing thing was, Dad said, I'm not going to be able, you won't be able to understand him. And, and the kid is really talkative. But he has his own language. And the thing is, having 5 kids, I don't know if it helped, but I understood. And so I was talking to him, and he was talking to me, and we, took sometimes a little bit, but we were able to communicate. And so he didn't like it on there at first, and then he was fine with it. But then in the middle, they went to the store, and the sister said, "Hey, that thing's missing." And so they went back to the house, and they found it. He had slid it out. They didn't know he was double jointed in his wrist and his thumb, and he was able to slide it off. So now I have it on his ankle, and so he hasn't been able to get it off. And so sometimes you got to be a little more sneaky than they are, but it works out. And they were, and he wants it on his wrist, and he wanted his sister to have one. So it's interacting with them and trying to come up with a solution to the family's needs and wants. And, they've called and said, that they can hear through our volunteers and that we're such passionate in what we're doing. And it's such a relief to them that it's just one less thing that they've got to really worry about. So, we can't do this without you. We've got different programs. We really need volunteers. We're training into the You Are Not Alone, but also the element is that as things grow, we're going to need folks to help do searches. We can train individuals to have more of these out there so that we can have them do searches. The Fort Bend County YANA program is a 501c3. These things are expensive. The county will not purchase them to be able to give away. So I have to come up with grants and donations. And, we did a fundraiser last year where we created a t-shirt and we got businesses, trying to figure out, okay, here we are. We got businesses to put their name on the back of them. They contributed, and one of our volunteers passed away, not from COVID, he had a stroke, and he was a part of the VFW post, and they believed in the Project Lifesaver so much, they donated almost $7,000 to be able to purchase equipment, to be able to, and that's what we got started with, to be able to train our deputies, buy equipment so they're in the vehicles, that they're out there. I just bought some more, and we're trying to get more folks, more law enforcement agencies to have these so that the response time is quick. Funding, the t-shirt program has worked well. We're doing another one. We're doing logos and we're doing names. So folks wanted to be a part of it. It just shows that community spirit. Sponsorship, assistance in printing. If somebody wanted to do something, we're doing a flyer right now. We're waiting for, it's all been approved and everything, and we're waiting for it to come back from the printers. But we're doing a flyer. We want to purchase wristbands, hand sanitizer. We want to brand the top of it with either a QR code so that we can have, if somebody sees it, they know who to contact. So it's just thinking outside the box. I can open it up for questions.
Michael, is there a cost to families, and kind of what is the process if they were to want to reach out to you about?
So, yeah, so there is no cost. My goal is that no family should have to say, I gotta buy this, or I put food on my table or what. But there are families that will say, look, I can't pay for it. This device costs $360. And then there's a $10 a month kind of maintenance, because we got to change out the battery, every 60 days. And so we've got to buy these from the organization International, Project Lifesaver International. And so there's shipping costs and all this involved. But so far, we've had folks that have received them and they said, here's a donation, or, we'll pay for it, pay it forward. They want to be supportive to that. So I don't want any family, I don't have a great supply of them, but I want to make, if we do have them, make them available and get them out there.
So the process is they would just contact your office.
Yeah.
The thing, is it
Yeah,
an
they
application
can.
or?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so if they're interested, there's our phone number, 281-341-YANA or 9262, or they can contact me either at YANA@FortBendCountyTX.gov, ask for an application, I'll send it out electronically, or I could bring it by. They'll fill out the information. We want to know, color of hair, scars, likes, these things come in different colors. If they like a specific color, we'll try to address that. Loved ones, next of kin, things of this sort. So we're gonna try to, it's like 9 pages of information, and you fill it out, get it back to me, we'll schedule it, and we'll come out, and it takes about 20 minutes. Now, there's things that the caregiver has to do. We have a device that they'll put onto the wristband every single day to make sure that the thing is still working, that the battery's working, it's putting out a signal, and then they log that. So I need that. It's really critical and important, because if we ever get audited, or if the Project Lifesaver International wants to audit, we want to make sure that everyone's doing their part.
We did have another question earlier too, and I think maybe it's before we started the recording, but it was just the difference between the Take Me Home program and Yana or Project Lifesaver.
So the Take Me Home is a public database system where you can go in and add your loved one into the system with pictures, and update those pictures and information of that sort. And then if you'd call and say, my child's missing, and then we've got to sort of find that child. And then if we happen to, or if we have a deputy driving by and sees a child in the street or in the field or someplace, and now they're trying to find out, where do you belong to? And if they're nonverbal, do they have the information? Do they have, something, taped to them or on their tags to say, I belong to, this household or what? And so it's to be able to keep that information updated. And so with our system, we're able to actually pinpoint their direction. And so it's a proactive type system where we have all that information, and we go out there every 60 days and we're visiting with the family, and if they ever go missing, we're able to find their direction, so we can pinpoint them instead of searching and putting out on Facebook, if you've seen this child, let us know. We sort of can proactively find them.
Good. Are there any other questions?
This is Tara. I just have a comment. Michael, thank you so much for your presentation. Just both of the programs, they're just wonderful resources for Fort Bend County. I mentioned that I have 4 kids, but my father-in-law lives with us also, and he's not, knock on wood, he's not quite a wanderer. He does have an adult tricycle. We've moved out closer. We're behind Greatwood, so we're near the city of Booth, but we're in Richmond, and there's not a lot in it, that's around us, but he's kind of traded in his adult tricycle, his manual tricycle, for an electric tricycle. And I guess the older he gets, I have concerns because he doesn't look at the weather before he leaves. And the other day, I think it was maybe Saturday, when there were wind advisories, and he was trying to go out in his yellow safety vest, bless his heart. He's got his protective gear on, but he doesn't really think about the elements, or he's like, I've got my coat on. And so, yeah, I know there's the digital things that we can put in place. But I love hearing these resources because as he's getting older and he's not, his faculties, he's not thinking about things as much as he used to. There are things that kind of make me worry about the future, and just knowing that there are those programs out there. So I really appreciate your work, and I'm excited to be able to share that resource just with our Bridging Apps team and Easter Seals. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you. And I understand,
Thank you, Tara. Thank you. And I understand,
we have a little bit of echo here. Okay, I think we're good. All right. I think we're good now. There we are. Okay. So if the individual, if they have accessibility to a vehicle, and it could be a bike or something, they in essence almost can't have this because we don't know how far they've gone. And again, we've had some where they've had the device, but they got into a vehicle, they took the keys, they found where the keys were, they got in the vehicle and they took off, and they said, well, you told us we can find them. We could within a range, but if you're 11 miles from here, we're not able to. So I've reached out to, I'm always trying to come up with solutions to issues. So there are tools out there that you can actually buy. There's one that I found today that you can actually hook up with zip ties to his bike, the bicycle, either on the frame or someplace, and the battery will last 5 years. And you're able to, I don't know what the cost is, but you're able to pinpoint where they're at. And, so I'm always trying to come up with, if folks get in the vehicle or driving off, or if they have accessibility to bikes or things like that. But, there's a lot of tools out there, and I kind of tell all my volunteers I'm going to keep going out there until we can make sure everyone comes home safely. I think there's a new, there we go.
Hi, this is John. I just had a question about the, do your officers receive special training in how to work with people who may have autism? And if they are looking for them and do find them, how would you approach that person and deal with that person so we don't have a bigger situation than we needed to have?
Absolutely. And for years, it's been a state law that every law enforcement deputy and officer in the state of Texas will go through a CIT, a crisis intervention team training. And it's been a state law for many years. And they go through, and there's updates that they go through. And so we get folks like Hope for Three, Autism Speaks, other organizations and agencies that do come in and talk and be able to provide those information. So if they're nonverbal, there's not just one individual, there's a team aspect to that where they'll communicate and work together. So they do go through quite a bit of training. I think the first class is like 40 hours. And then there's updated classes, I think on a every year or 2 years basis, I think, depending on the need and the what they need to update.
And do your volunteers also get some sort of training in that area?
Yeah, so we're, as again, our program when we first started was primarily dealing with seniors and making the calls and visits. And then COVID kind of, we were trying to deal with social isolation. And here we are in a global, social isolation event. And so we've had to kind of tweak that. And we are looking, I've talked to the administration and I asked them if our volunteers can go in. And again, a lot of our volunteers, we will make calls and we'll work 7 days a week. So, but a lot of them still are working. So a lot of them don't have that time to be able to get out and do. So it depends on the individual. Some folks are so into it, we'll give them every training of ability as needed. But it's really up to the individual. And so I use them in different ways.
Are there-
So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. So I guess I'm trying to understand what the benefit of this project is versus like for a nonverbal younger child having like one of those angel sense monitors or something that could track them if they were like abducted or taken in a car somewhere. I'm trying to figure out kind of what, you know, the pros and cons of each one. Cause like my 4-year-old, she's nonverbal and she'll elope, but I guess I'm more worried about her being taken somewhere without me knowing. So I feel like maybe this project might not be the best, or it might not be like what I'm looking for or what I really understand.
Yeah. So Danny, I think the aspect of like Angel Sense, it's a device. Again, is it removable? And so putting on the wrist, you know, it is a visible device, but if it was on the ankle or whatnot, again, you know, there's no, like I've always looked at, there's, you know, a tool, there's nothing that's 100%. And so having, you know, when are they missing and how fast, you know, where were they missing? You know, I lost my son, my wife and I, we lost our son at Moody Gardens. I thought he was with her. She thought he was with me, you know, and so and she was inside the, you know, the event or the booth thing, and I was outside and I couldn't get to her. And so, you know, then I started looking all over the place, and, you know, he ended up being with security and they were just feeding him with chocolate. And so you know, but it was, you know, 5 to 10 minutes worth of, you know, panic. But at that time, are you looking around the house? You know, I had a gentleman last week who couldn't find, they were going back to Virginia and they were here visiting, and they had Project Lifesaver from Virginia. They were registered here in Fort Bend. And I get a call that they can't find dad. And so they're driving around trying to find him. And so they contacted us. And then at that moment, they saw him. He was around the corner. So he didn't go that far. You know, if they do, you know, if they get into a vehicle, it's really difficult. Which direction? Long distances, is it past a mile to 2 miles? I can't use this. Can Angel Sense work that way? Or did the, you know, perpetrator removed it? You know, so that's why it's really important to be able to have it. And again, it's one tool. And my wife always asks during disasters why we have so many flashlights. And it's like, because if we lose one, we've got another one. So there's different elements, you know, you can have both.
No, and that makes, you make a really good point just about like the normal being out, like lost in a store or lost in a busy area. I wasn't really thinking about that. I guess I was thinking more so like if she's at school and then all of a sudden, like the Katie ISD example, like, but I guess I do worry more so on a day-to-day basis when she is with me, or if she's with my ex-husband and I don't know what they're doing or where they're at, then that would be a benefit.
Yeah, and I've gone down to the Children's Museum down in Houston. There was a family visiting from Ohio, and they had called Harris County, and they have a program just like ours, and they weren't able to get a hold of them. So then they called to us, and I was able to actually respond down there, and the found out that the device fell off the child and they were trying to find it because they were leaving the next day to go back to Ohio. And again, they would have to pay for it. And so I went out there and I pinpointed again, it's easier if it's on a person, but if you put this into a room, it's a little difficult because I'm hearing it. I'd have to move everything to try to find it. So they were able to, I pinpointed it. I went into the elevators. The elevators went up, they opened the doors, and I actually went into the base of the elevators because they were in there. I knew I was getting the chirp, but it turned out they found it a couple days later in one of the cleaning crews' smocks that they were wearing. It was inside the pocket. I would have never found it. I knew where it was, but I couldn't find it because it wasn't on a person.
Okay.
Same thing with GPS, it's going to give you an approximate. It's not going to tell you within 2 inches or a foot or something. It could be depending on, now I've used GPS for many, many years, and some of it works. And depending on circumstances, depending on the signal coming back, I wasn't getting a pinpoint. It was sending me a couple miles away. And that's where it was telling where I was, and it wasn't exact.
Well, maybe let's take one more question and then let Michael wrap it up for the evening, and his contact information is there as well for any additional questions. And any final question for Michael?
Well,
I see Patty or who?
Jerry,
It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is I'm one of the volunteers for Yana, and it's an awesome, awesome program. It's so awesome. I have the shirt. Just a little plug there. I have a question though, for how often is a helicopter required?
I'm sorry?
How often would a helicopter be required?
It would just depend. A lot we've, as a county, we have the tools, and if you don't use them, they want to be a part of it. And they came to me and said one time, Michael, we know what you're doing. We want to be a part of this. What do we have to do? So they were begging to be a part of it. So if they, but it takes a supervisor to say, hey, we need a helicopter, we need this, we need these tools, we need, it just depends on the circumstance. But, the main thing is how fast do we want to find them? And I will use every means imaginative to be able to find them. If I can train more folks and to be out there and pre-trained, then we're going to find them faster. And that's my goal.
Go ahead,
Jerry,
you're the final question. Go ahead.
okay, can you hear me?
we can hear you.
I really think that might be a benefit if ARC could examine all the various, like this program, the Take Me Home, all of it together, the different devices, the Find My Phone. If my granddaughter has her phone, somebody would have to pry it out of her hand. But there's so many different devices and programs that we could access and use depending on the need of our particular child or individual. In her case, I'm out in the driveway right now because she rides her scooter out here, but I have to watch her consistently to be sure she doesn't go out in the street or go off. She's not really an eloper, but if she sees something she wants, she just goes after it. So I short range, I don't imagine I would call. Every deputy doesn't have one of those devices, I'll call it a radar gun, whatever that thing is you held up.
Receiver unit.
Okay, the time it would take for you to get here to start searching, I probably either would have found her. I mean, I can really truly see the benefit of this, but as you say, if she's more than a mile away, she would probably be out of range, but of course you could be moving too.
Exactly. So the whole goal is when we're traveling to you, we have the units on. So we're in the process of gathering, are we in the right area as we're moving there? So on the shift, we have these receiver units on every shift. And as we're growing, I've got 8 out there right now. I've got another 7 that we're going to be sending out. KDISD is going to have, I think, about a half a dozen of them. And then I'm talking with some other school districts as well. So the goal is to get that out there. And and again, yes, we want you to be proactive and be looking around, calling her name if she comes from that way. But we also want you to call 911 and get us coming, because we're part of your team to find her. And that's the priority there.
How much does that receiver cost? Could I get one?
So it costs me $360 to buy this.
Receiver, the radar.
The receiver. So it's around $1,100, but they have another device, and I can provide that information to you. They have a perimeter device where if they go past that perimeter, you get a signal. So if it's in the middle of the night and they open the door and they walk out, that device will go off. Or if she's outside and you've set up the perimeter around and she goes past that, you get a signal. So there are other technology and there's other uses, and I could go through a whole, 31 flavors. There's a bunch of information. And again, maybe Carrie, we can put together information and be able to put links together, but also I think, just call me. If I don't know it, I'm going to tell you I don't know it, but I'm very good at finding the solution to that.
That perimeter device sounds like it would be good to have at school too, if the child left the school area.
Yes, and then you got to find out who's going to have that monitor. Is it the office? Is it a teacher? Is it the aide? So, right. So there's other, but that's what's really depending on the circumstance.
Right.
Well, that's what's great, Michael, about you sharing this information, because it does give us some of the, again, that information about the different devices and technology and things that are available to us, available to parents, available to schools. And then because all of our children do have such unique individual needs, we can then have conversations with the people that our child tends to interact with, the school, the teacher, in the community, and see what might work for our child and their individual needs. But want to go ahead and respect everybody's time this evening and close it out for the night. Michael, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing this information with us tonight. And we will be sharing this presentation, which is recorded, on our Facebook page or YouTube channel. And this will continue to be a resource for other parents. So thank you again.
And put our phone number in your phone and, write it down. If you need something, call me. We'll figure it out together.